Hello, it is my absolute honor to introduce a brand new author, Raina Bradford. Her book is debuting today. It's called In My Hands, Stories of the Land and Animals I Love But Can't See. Raina?
Well, I am writing under the name Raina Bradford, and I'm going to be sharing with you just a little bit about my first book this morning, which is pretty exciting. But before we get to that, I have another really important person up here on stage that I want to introduce you to, and his name is Cinder. She's found the microphone. Cinder is almost 3 years old. He is a Russian Svetnaya Balanka, and if you have never heard of this breed and not even sure that I just spoke in English just now, you are not alone. They are a pretty rare breed here in the U.S. They are obviously a little lap dog, and they do hail from Russia. They were bred, real quick synopsis as to what this guy is supposed to do. They were bred back in the 1950s or so, Soviet-era Russia, to be quiet, clean apartment dogs. Back in those days, that place, people did not have a lot of money or a lot of space to keep big dogs. And so these little guys were supposed to be quiet, non-shedding, just sweet, loyal companions. So Cinder is here to give me some major moral support, and he is also here for some super cuteness appeal. So I think he's doing both of those jobs pretty well. And if you stick with me for the next few minutes, he is also going to do some cute doggy tricks at the end of my spiel, and then we're going to have his big sister Cassie come up on stage and do a few things. So in the meantime, let me set him down so that I'm not. There we go. No, I don't have to do that much strength training. Okay. So hang with me for the next few minutes and he'll get to strut his stuff a little bit. When I was 15 months old, I had a brain tumor. And that was, it was one of those things where I didn't really, of course, I didn't know any different. They did the surgery when I was about 15 months. They finally figured out why I was such a cranky baby, and did remove it. It was successful in the sense that they got the tumor out, so there's nothing left. But the damage was already done. Essentially, the optic nerve was stretched irreparably and basically destroyed. So for a year, 2 years or so, nobody knew for sure how much sight I would retain, if any. The upshot of it is that I can see a little bit. I can see light and dark. I can see shadows and contrasts. I cannot see colors. I cannot see faces. I can't tell if this blur over here is a post or if it's actually Thea. So it is Thea. Okay, that's good. But essentially, I live in a world of gray and smudges. Now that's. Hearing that your kid has a brain tumor, that's a pretty heavy burden for mom and dad to carry. But raising a blind child is not for the faint of heart. But for me, I didn't know any different. I grew up just not knowing that the world could look any different, and I got to where I was pretty innovative, and I did what I wanted to do. I was pretty determined, and usually the things that I wanted to do revolved around animals. I have loved anything with fur ever since I was really before I can even remember. And hamsters, horses, rabbits, cats, dogs, especially dogs, anything I could talk mom and dad into letting me bring home when I was growing up. And now that I'm all moved out and have been on my own for quite a few years now, I can have any kind of animal I want to. I've basically narrowed down my focus to two main things. These are the driving passions that get me out of bed at dark 30 in the morning and usually keep me from going to bed at a decent hour at night. One thing I do is that I raise registered dairy goats. And the other thing that I do is that I train and show my dogs in American Kennel Club events. So the title of my book is In My Hands, Stories of the Land and Animals I Love But Can't See. This is a book about my farm. It's a book about how I do what I do and why I do what I do. Why have I chosen to live kind of an unorthodox lifestyle? And how do I make it work? You know, it's really a book about the different challenges and joys, I'd say, that I encounter as a handicapped homesteader. I have 6 acres that I look after. I live by myself out on the rural gravel roads, and have a bunch of livestock and critters that I'm responsible for. So it's also, I hope, a book about the majesty and the beauty of the Kansas prairie, which I truly think that I'm privileged to encounter season by season. So the way that I broke this book down when I sat down to organize it, just sort of general interest, I broke it down into 4 sections, and so we begin with autumn, and we work through winter, spring, and then to summer at the end. And I wanted to do that for a couple of reasons. You know, as I said, first of all, I love the prairie, I love the seasons, and so I wanted to reflect that in some of my writing. But I also wanted to draw readers into the life cycle of the goats. If you are a goat, all of the magic happens in the fall. The autumn is when the guys get really interested in the girls, and it's when the girls get kind of interested in the guys, and everything gets started in the fall. So that's where I decided to begin my book. And then walking through the winter is gestation. The goats, the girls carry their kids for 5 months before birthing them in the spring. And at my house, I've decided that usually it works best to have babies in March. So that kicks off the spring and the birth season for everybody. I do hand raise my kids. I bottle feed all my babies for 3 to 4 months out of every year. And then I also milk the mamas. So that takes us, you know, starting in the spring through the summer and way late into the fall. I'm milking about 10 months out of every year, twice a day. There are 1,000,003 different things you can do with the milk. So I've learned to make various different kinds of cheeses. I've learned to make yogurt, soap, lotion. I've learned to let my mom make ice cream. But I happily provide the milk for it from my 3, 4, 5 milkers, however many I have going at that given time of the year. So that's kind of my journey with my goats. And the other side of it, that's how I've broken the book down into 4 seasons. But within each of those seasonal sections, I do have individual chapters, and each of them is generally revolves around certain dogs, most of whom I still have with me. For you cat lovers out there, hang with me. I do have 2 cats that I feature in this book. I am inclusive. I love them all. I have currently 7 cats that call my house their home. So, but many of the dogs have, you know, a lot of them are rescues, and they do have pretty amazing stories. Not all of them are rescues, but, you know, some of them have been really challenging dogs to work with, and for various reasons. And so I share a lot of their stories. I do, again, compete in AKC performance events. We largely do obedience. We've done a few other things for fun over the years. And I really love teaching my dogs things. I love training them. It's amazing what they're able to learn. And, you know, as corny as it sounds to say, it's true when I share with you that they have taught me at least as much as I've taught them. And he's just lying there like, really? in a very real sense, I probably wouldn't be, if it weren't for my dogs, I probably wouldn't be up here on stage at all because I haven't always been this brave. So, as much socialization and people skills as I try to give my dogs, I think they've given me at least as much. So, it's yeah, I think he's kind of ready to show a thing or two about what he can do. He has some cute tricks, and I'm going to take this leash off. I think just to keep him from getting tangled. Okay, should we stand right here?
Yeah, you're about 3 feet from the front.
We have spotters here. Yes. Let's see if he'll start with a spin or two. I like. Yay! Now he has to unwind. Okay, take it. I like to start my dogs off with spins because it kind of gets them focused on, hey, this lady has food. What does she want me to do for it? Let's see if he can sit pretty. We've been working on this, and there we go. He kind of likes to cheat a little bit, but that's cute. He can also, my dogs are into aerobics, so he can sit up, do squats. Sit up. Sit. Up. Sit. There you go. That's close enough. And he does a really good army crawl. So let's, if we can get him to one end, whichever end of the stage you would like me to.
You're just about 2 feet from the end.
Which way do you want me to?
This way, so you want to do
Him to crawl to.
that way.
Okay. Let's not. Move the audience here. Are we good to back up here?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. This is a really small stage.
Army crawl, excellent.
I'm not sure who did the crawl. And let's start at the back. This way he can walk on his back legs in case you didn't know. Alright. It is kind of a slippy stage, so I think we'll call it good with that and take him down and